Welcome, everyone. I'm glad to have you here in today's discussion. Today, we're going to talk about life insurance and how life insurance is related to financial wealth. Today, we have Travis Sapp with PHP Life Agency, which is a financial brokerage firm, and he's going to tell us a little bit about himself and his firm. Travis, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello. Quick rundown from start to finish at how I actually got into the life insurance business. It was definitely a way around the world a little bit. So I was born in the mountains of West Virginia. There's not a lot of financial education that goes on there. If you're not a lumberjack or a coal miner, you're probably not going to make a lot of money. And lumberjacks and coal miners don't exactly have the greatest life expectancy. So I figured that was probably not the route for me. So straight out of high school, my parents, we weren't wealthy. No one was financially educated. Hard work is how we made our money, and hard work will literally work you to death, and you won't make a lot of money. So I went into the military, 4 years here, there, Egypt, Israel, across the sea from Iraq. And then after 4 years, I decided that that was not going to work out for me. So I moved to Texas because I didn't like the cold, and I was stationed in upstate New York. If you know anything about New York, it gets really cold in upstate New York.
Oh, yeah.
So I moved to Texas, met another guy who was prior military, and he turned me on to the real estate business, which I'm a real estate appraiser now, and life insurance is now just my part-time gig, but it's very interesting to me because I had no idea that life insurance really works the way that it works. So circle back to life insurance. About 4 months ago, someone approached me on Instagram, and they approached me because I follow Patrick Bet-David, who is the #1 entrepreneur in the entire United States. He's brilliant, and that is an extreme understatement. He has a YouTube channel called Valuetainment. I highly encourage anyone and everyone that's listening to this or watching this, please go to that YouTube channel. The amount of financial education you can get from watching YouTube is it's incredible. It is incredible. I watch it every single day. I learn new things every day. So they approached me and said, "Hey, I see that you follow Patrick Bet-David. Would you like to do business with him?" I myself is an entrepreneur, and Patrick is one of the top 5 guys that I would love to work with. So they sent me that message, and I was like, this has got to be a scam. There's no way this is like legit. Why would a guy worth hundreds of millions of dollars want to even work with me? So I called a buddy of mine who I saw actually had a PHP agency shirt on. And I was like, his name's Dean Mason. He lives in Florida. I said, Dean, what's the deal? Is this company legit? Like, what are you making money? Like, what's going on? He's like, yeah, man, it's totally legit. It's insane. And he started sending me pictures of all these trainings that he goes to with like thousands of agents. And Patrick Bet-David is on the stage talking to these just regular people. These aren't business people that have funds with, Berkshire Hathaway and those companies. These are regular people like you and I that are actually working with this guy. And so I was like, okay, so, what are the benefits? And he said, well, let me go over this financial plan with you and you tell me what you think. And that's when he actually went through the 3 main stages of life insurance with me. So I want to go over those with you, but I'd like to go over them with you separately. But when I saw the permanent policy, the LIRP, the life insurance retirement policy, #1, I felt like a fool. And #2, there was kind of a chip on my shoulder because no one had ever taught me this, right? No one had ever called me and said, hey, do you know how money works? Do you know how life insurance can help you save on your taxes? Do you know how life insurance can create wealth for your family? I had no idea. I thought life insurance was just regular term life insurance where I give you a monthly premium. And if I pass sometime in 30 years, then my family gets the money. So it works a little bit different. It works a lot different than that. So if you'd like to go over those, I'm going to be asking you some questions as I'm going over this, so it's a little more interactive. So the 3 main types of life insurance: term, ROP, and permanent. Okay, we're going to start with term. What term insurance is, it's in the name, right? So it's life insurance for a term or a period of time. So if I get a 30-year term policy on myself, right? At the end, in the middle of that 30 years, if I pass, my family gets what's called the death benefit, right? Let's say, if for this example, let's say $500,000. If I don't pass within that 30 years, the problem with a regular term policy is that it expires, right? It expires at the end of the term, exactly what it's called. So 98% of all people outlive that term policy. So they're paying into a policy, and I don't want to say they're getting nothing from it, because they're getting the thought that if I do pass, I call it catastrophe insurance. So if you get in a wreck or something bad just out of the blue, accident happens, then you're covered, right? Term insurance is cheap and you get a lot of it for a little bit of money. Once again, the cons, it expires, right? Are you familiar with term?
I am. The way that I learned it when I was a little bit younger was that you basically, like you said, pay for it as a backup plan in case something happens to you, but you don't really get anything out of it. So it's kind of like money you're like chucking out the window, which
Yeah,
is
you're exactly. You don't get anything out of it unless you pass, and then you're not there to enjoy it with your family. So
right.
there's pros and cons from each policy. So the second one is ROP, and that means return of premium. Now this is also a term policy. However, let me put this in your mind. We're going to use the example of auto insurance, right? So let's say that you buy a car and you keep it for 10 years and you pay your auto insurance for 10 years, right?
Okay.
At the end of 10 years, you say, you know what? I'm done with this car. I'm going to trade it in. I'm going to sell it. How nice would it be if your insurance company gave all your premium money back?
Yeah, that would be really nice.
Right? That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Okay. Well, that's how ROP insurance works. So the same scenario, you've got your $500,000 death benefit. A ROP policy also expires, right? So if you outlive it, if you live past your 30-year term, instead of you getting nothing, you actually get all of your premium back, right? So a lot of people put ROP policies on their children. So I actually have 2 policies on my kids. So when they were born, we got ROP policies, and when by the time they turn 20 or 30, they're going to get all that premium money back because your policy expires, right? But you still get your premium money back. So you won't get the death benefit, which is a good thing. That means you're alive, right? But you're going to get the return of premium policy. You're going to get all that money that you put in back.
Now, could you take that premium and roll it over into a new life insurance policy, like as an adult?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. That happens a lot, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and a lot of the times they roll that over into the next one, which is a permanent policy.
Okay.
Right. So, what do you think a permanent policy is?
I'm not sure.
Last forever. Well, and I say forever, life expectancy of a human. So permanent policies, the ones that we offer, last for 121 years old. Do you know anybody 121 years old?
I do not.
Me neither. I've never met someone 121 years old before. So what that means is eventually your family is going to get that $500,000 death benefit. Right?
Okay, so basically if when you're older, you can't lose it, because sometimes you see things like that where, especially in health insurance, where as you get older, obviously you start needing more medical care and more help. And then, they pull it when you need it. So in life insurance, this is permanent because it will stay with you throughout the rest of your life. Now, is it a higher costing insurance then?
It is a higher costing insurance, and here's why. Okay. So with these permanent policies that we offer, they last till you're 121 years. So eventually someone's going to get, your beneficiary is going to get your death benefit. Now, the good thing about this policy is a little bit of your premium goes towards the death benefit, and a little bit of your premium goes toward what's called tax value, right? Cash value. Sorry, not tax value, cash value. This is a tax-free account. Many people use these permanent policies as tax-free retirement accounts. The name of one of the policies is actually life insurance retirement policy. So what happens is half your money goes into this cash value account. It's attached to the stock market. And all of these terms are not 100%. They're made so normal people like you and I can understand them. It does me no good to speak to you in insurance terms if you don't know what I'm talking about. Make sense? So,
Absolutely.
so we're going to use stock market, for example. So a little bit of my money goes into a cash value account for the stock market. Now, as the stock market goes up, we're gaining money, right? The best thing about this policy is when the stock market crashes, which it will, the stock market's a roller coaster, has been, will always be, no matter what. You don't lose money because there's a floor, right? Now, there's a floor because there's also a ceiling. So let's say that the stock market goes up 16% in a year. You're probably only going to gain 8 to 10% in that year because that's the ceiling, right? But if the stock market crashes 35% the next year, you don't lose anything. Make sense? So as the years go on, you're gaining 5, 6, 7, 8, 10% yearly. You're getting none of the crashes. So can you imagine what the cash value of that's going to be in 20 or 30 years?
Now, how is that protected? Because as of like right now, and just to kind of back up a little bit, like a long time ago, they did not have retirement funds, that hence the depression in 1929. And then the industry thought that it would be brilliant to create these pensions, and then everyone had a pension, and that has since gone away as well. And then now we have 401ks. And everyone has their money completely invested in their 401ks in the stock market, which, as you can tell from this year with all the volatility and lack of knowledge around the stocks and what they're invested in, I'm sure that people are losing money left and right. So, so can you explain to me how insurance can actually be used as a means of insurance, or not insurance, I'm sorry, retirement, for the long haul? And then how are people protected on the downturn? Because what I would say is that they can make 8 to 10% on the upturn, but if you have a ceiling, and then you said there was also a floor, how are they protected on the downturn?
Right. So as you were saying with the 401k, that's very volatile, right? That goes up and down with the market. When the market crashed in 2007, 2008, people lost their entire life savings. They lost everything. I know multiple people that lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. If those people would have had that money into this permanent account that I just explained to you, they would still have a bunch of money and a lot more, because that was what, 10 years ago now, 12 years ago now, right?
Yeah.
And the way that it works is because the way that it's written into the life insurance policy is they do that because your premium gets invested into different structures. And so your risk is minimal, right? So there's different policies. One is a variable policy where you are actually attached to the stock market, like a 401, where it goes up and down. So you can lose a bunch of money. But if you're in an IUL, an indexed universal life, your cap rate is set and your floor is set, right? So as the market goes up, you may not be gaining as much as if you had your money set in a regular stock market account. But once again, your flooring is set. So once you get to a certain amount and the market crashes, you don't lose money. Your account doesn't go down. It just stays stagnant, right?
I see.
So the market can be losing, but you're stagnant. You're not losing anything. And then as the market goes up and it passes your floor again, then you start to go up again. Make sense? So that's why a lot of the wealthy people, I mean, you're talking about the Kennedys, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, all of those families all have these type of policies, right? And that's how, when their kids are of age, they start out way ahead of normal folks like you and I, right? Because their kids have that cash value. Their kids have that death benefit. Can you imagine what it would be like if when you pass, you have $1 million to pass on to your kids to buy a business or invest in a business? I mean, that's a huge stepping stone. We may not be having this conversation if my father would have left me $1 million when he passed, because I would own 4 or 5 Subways probably.
Very good. And just to kind of back up a little bit and talk a little bit about the importance of financial education in that way, I can relate to you completely because, I grew up in Illinois, suburbs of Illinois, and, we're not taught financial education. We are in high school. I was taught how to like write checks and how to balance a checking account, but not the investing side and not the understanding or mindset around what it takes to either invest your money, to hold on to your money, and what to do with your money in order to make it most effective and work for you. And actually, in more recent times, I actually spent the last 10 years near where you grew up. I was in Cadiz, Ohio. And they're kind of, I can relate to your story because the situation is still the same. And that's 20 years later, where you have people who grew up in the area, they move away because the area is depressed, or they're blue collar workers, which is fine because we need those blue collar workers in the country. That's what helps the country go around. But also there is opportunity there for individuals to grow, but it's an individual thing that has to be developed and understood, and the time has to be put into. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is how life insurance can then turn into financial wealth, and by knowing how to invest that money, how it can help you, how it can help you grow. You've already actually spoke to this a little bit about how, depending on how you invest that money, will make a difference to how, what am I trying to say here?
The way that we invest our money as parents, we're giving our children a head start, right?
Absolutely.
So there's a video. I wish I could remember the name of it. I apologize for that. I should have researched that before we got on the call here.
That's okay.
Matthew Sapala actually interviewed an individual, and I speak in layman's terms. So when I say, actually, I'm not, he interviewed an individual, a minority, and he's blatantly asked him, and Matthew Sapala is actually, he's on the board of directors of PHP as well, another financial genius. His YouTube channel is 7-Figure Squad. He interviews people all the time. You will not find two better channels on YouTube as far as financial literacy is concerned that will teach you literally everything. He has a video on how to buy a Rolls-Royce Phantom with zero money. So if you know anything about Rolls-Royce, those are nice vehicles, right? So no one ever taught me how to do that. I've been underwater on a car payment my whole life, right?
Yeah.
So he does an interview with a gentleman, and it's a black gentleman, and he's asking him, what do we have? Why is there so much income inequality? Why is the wealth gap so great in this country right now? And you hear it on the media all the time, right? And all they say is, this country is bad. This person's against this person. We don't like this person because they said this, and that. It's easy to keep the people divided, right? And it's easy to keep us controlled when we don't have the knowledge, financial knowledge, to break free, right?
Right.
So
Exactly.
you hear people say all the time, oh, money is the root of all evil. While that can be true, I don't personally know any happy homeless people. There may be some. I don't know them, right?
Right.
So I
Right.
can tell you what money does for my family. It allows me to take my kids and my wife on family vacations every year, which I never got to go. I think we went on maybe one trip to Florida one time. I take my wife and kids to vacation every year. Okay. That's our bonding time. That's when we take all of our family photos and, play in the water on the beach and stuff like that. I wouldn't be able to do that if I wasn't financially free, if I didn't have an income source that allowed me to do that. Right. So one of the biggest things is knowing where to invest your money. And it's not just being financially free is not just work hard. It's not just work hard, because the backside of that financial freedom is taxes. Right.
Yeah.
So
I like to think of financial freedom as just a mindset. because the financial freedom to me means your mind is free of worry, of making decisions solely based off of your finances. So many people, will make a decision to what they're going to do and what they're not going to do based off of whether or not if they have the money or not. And when you take away that piece of the equation, you enjoy your life infinitely. That's not a word, but I just made it up.
I use it too. It's a word to us. So I completely understand what you're talking about. So to circle back around to the income inequality and the wealth gap, right? So
Right.
what this gentleman says is that as older white men start to get older and they start having kids, they invest in life insurance policies, right? And minority men do not do that, right?
Right. And
So
is that partially due to either lack of understanding or just lack of knowledge?
100% due to lack of understanding. No one is calling those minorities and saying, hey, maybe you guys should invest in life insurance. Here's how it can benefit you. If you
Right.
don't have $100,000 in the bank sitting somewhere, JP Mortgage Chase or Berkshire Hathaway, these people aren't calling your phone and saying, hey, this is what you should do. They don't care.
Right. And so that goes back to taking personal, responsibility for yourself and your family personally and stepping up to the plate because just like you said earlier, no one's going to call you and say, hey, why don't you just step into this new role? It's up to you to go out and seek it, find it, educate yourself, do the work, and then, implement it all the way through the process. We were speaking yesterday, and this actually just reminded me of the conversation we had yesterday, where I learned when I was in my 20s that I should save $100 a month. To start early and to go, but I didn't do that. So of course I kicked myself in the butt, but I can't live in the past. And I just started implementing just recently. And we personally invest in the through Wealth Factory, they call them the overfunded life insurance policies, which means that we have a basic life insurance policy and then we pay more into it. And like you said, it's invested and you get a small, steady rate of return over time. And then we went one step further and created a trust for the children so that when we pass, our children have the opportunity to use that money, but they're not just freely given that money, because the whole purpose is to help build them and not destroy them. And you see so many families, wealthier families, who have also done all the work up front. You have the older generation who may have worked really hard, made a lot of money, created wills and trusts to make sure that that stuff is secure. And then, along the lines down the generations, the information doesn't get passed along. And then it is dwindled. So in our situation, what we did is we set it up so that the children would have to apply with a board of directors in order to be able to withdraw money from the trust. And in this way, they have to be approved, and then they also have to pay it back, which means that it is being realigned for the next generation to do the same.
It's on my notes to say exactly that. So I'm not going to say that. What you just said is exactly how generational wealth is created, right? So in that policy that I was talking about earlier, where you build a cash value and your beneficiaries eventually get that death benefit. So if you have a $500,000 death benefit and you put in whatever your premium is every month, in 30 years, you're probably, depending if you max fund it or not, you're probably looking at another $250,000 cash value. So let's say if you were to pass, your beneficiaries are getting about $750,000. Now, here's the catch, what you were saying with the trust. They don't get to use all of that $750,000, right? Let's say we say, you know what? Here's you $500,000, buy a business, take care of yourself and your family. You can only use this other $250,000 to invest back into a life insurance policy that builds that cash value for the next generation, right? So now we're building generational wealth from generation to generation to generation. And that can start with one person, right? you can be the person that starts generational wealth for your family. You can be that person.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
and the one thing that I loved about this company, PHP, is they're a people building company, right? We're a life insurance company, but we're a people building company. And it's amazing because we have about, I think it's 19,000 agents right now. What we actually do, the insurance companies actually pay us, they pay PHP to financially educate the population on how life insurance products work, right? That's
Okay.
what we're paid to do. So PHP doesn't actually have its own insurance products. We sell AIG, MetLife, all the top carriers. They pay PHP to educate the population because, once again, no one's calling their phone telling them how life insurance works. The general
Right.
population thinks this is term insurance, this is life insurance. If I don't die sometime within the next 30 years, nobody gets anything, right? They
Yeah.
don't
Or if you're
know these tax-free systems. They don't know the system that you have, right? They don't know
right.
the work system that I have. So
If
that's
they're
what we're
purely
paid to do.
I'm
Yeah, that's
sorry.
exactly why I joined this company. No, it's okay. I'm excited because I like to teach people. I'm a team builder. I was a team builder when I was in the military. I'm a mindset coach. So it gets me excited to be able to have this knowledge to pass on to regular people, because I'm thinking in my mind, God, if I had this guy or if I had this girl to teach me this 20 years
Yeah.
ago, where would I be right now? Right?
Yeah.
If I had someone that said, you know what, you don't need a $1,400 iPhone. You don't need those $200 Jordans. You make $30,000 a year. You don't need a $30,000 car. No one ever told me that.
Right. 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 So what type of return you get out of those items?
But you get zero return over those items, right? Those are not called assets. Those are called liabilities.
Correct.
Liabilities don't make you money.
Now, if we took those liabilities and put them to work for us, then they would become assets.
If you took those liabilities and put them into a life insurance policy like you have, and let your money make money while you sleep without the worry of that money crashing like a 401k, that mindset, that's generational wealth. Okay. And when
Absolutely.
you know about that, you're also teaching your kids about financing. So not only are you giving them money, you're teaching them how this money works, right? This is how we save money on our taxes. This is how we keep our family name going strong.
Absolutely.
So I love
So
it.
another conversation that we had, we were talking about how PHP is hitting the ground running, and they're looking at doing some pretty, uh, they have some really big plans for growth. Can you
We
tell me
do.
a little bit more about that?
Yes, ma'am. So our CEO, Patrick Bet-David, right now we're at about 19,000 agents. By 2030, he wants to have 500,000 agents on the team,
Holy smokes.
right? So right now we have a problem. The whole reason for this call is to financially educate people, right? So if we have
Absolutely.
19,000 agents, and I think right now there's probably 500,000 agents worldwide through all the life insurance companies, or not worldwide, I'm sorry, US. 500,000 agents are trying to educate 335 million people. That's a big job, right?
Yeah.
That's a huge job. So if we can get to 500,000 agents in the next 9 years, imagine how many people we can educate. Right?
Absolutely.
And even if you don't get a life insurance policy, at least you know about it. How many people don't know about it, so they don't even have the opportunity? How many times have you done something and then you thought back, wow, if I would have known about this years ago, once again, where would I be at now? That's exactly what I thought about when we got our life insurance policy. If I would have known about this policy 20 years ago, and I could have max funded this thing $500, $1,000 a month 20 years ago, at this point in time, I would be a millionaire.
Absolutely. Yep.
So what we
So
got going
it's
on is I'm
I
sorry,
was
go
just
ahead.
going to say, and it's never too late. Even if you're at ground zero right now, it's prime time to get started and start educating yourself. If people wanted to learn more about PHP Life Agency and find out how they can either get policies for themselves or they can learn about becoming an agent, how would they do that?
You can go to phpagency.com, or I'm a personal person, so I'm going to give you my phone number. It's 817-894-0022. Once again, 817-894-0022. Call me, text me. I will help you for free. I will help you understand this situation. If you're looking for work, if you're looking for a career change, ask me how you can become a life insurance agent. If you're interested in building a team, you can build an entire team of educators. And I say educators because that's what we're doing, right? We don't sell products. It's my job to present to you what we have, right? In a way that
Mm-hmm.
you can understand it. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's your job to tell me what's best for your family and what you can afford, right? I don't want you to be on the blocks working to pay a life insurance policy every month. I want you to be comfortable. I want you to know that you can make that payment. I want you to know that your family is going to be covered for what you got. So
Absolutely.
we're
Absolutely. And
available. We're looking. We're educating. This company is an amazing, positive company to work for.
right. And as we evolve and as we become more financially educated, we can start in like a term and then build into something on a higher level and make it become something. Not everybody is going to jump in and be able to create a will and a trust. And, that's typically if you have a lot of money already and you're able, willing and able, because it does take a lot of work to put together. Um, but if you are just starting at ground zero and you're making a steady income, you do have a family that you need to think of. I think a life insurance is one thing that a lot of people overlook because a lot of people don't want to think about that part of life that we will not be here forever. And the being, I guess, in denial of the fact that you are going to die eventually one day does nothing for your family. And you do not want to leave them in the situation where they are struggling. Not only will they be mourning your loss, but also they'll be struggling to pay the bills at the end of the day. And, who wants to go through that? Don't put your family through
No,
that.
well, and absolutely keep this in mind, right? So if you're the breadwinner in your family and you pass, not only now does your family have to make up for that income that they're not getting because of you, they have to figure out burial costs, right? No one should go through that at the time when they should be mourning,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
So you say if you're starting at ground zero, so there's something that I say all the time to anyone that I talk to that needs help, and it's this: just because you are here right now, okay, this doesn't mean this is where you have to stay. Now, how do you
Absolutely.
change that, right? You're here because of the choices that you've made in your life up to this point, right? How can you change that? Just start making better choices. Educate
Absolutely.
yourself. Go to
It's
those YouTube channels. Find out how financial works. Find a mentor, right? Call me. I'll be happy to mentor you.
It's
If we
funny that
can,
you say that. I mentioned that to my husband the other day that there's a distinction I made when I was a lot younger that every single thing that you do comes down to the decisions that you make. And the only thing you got to do is the formula for success in this area is you just have to make good decisions. Sometimes those good decisions are tough decisions, and sometimes they're not easy to implement. But when you know that it's the right decision and you move in that direction, it's like one little stepping stone on top of another one, and you build success over time. So,
yeah, so those decisions aren't easy in the moment, right? Because everybody wants that new car. Everybody wants
mhm.
that new pair of shoes. I worked really hard, so I should be able to have that. However, if you put that off until your money is actually making money, right? Then that money's not coming out of your pocket. That money comes from the financial decisions that you'd made to take care of yourself at a later date. So if you forego that right now, you and your family are going to be way more comfortable down the line. Um, you don't want to be 60, 70 years old, still living paycheck to paycheck. Your life is worth more than that. Your family's life is worth more than that. Those should be the golden years. You should be enjoying your grandkids at that point. It shouldn't be a situation where you have to go out and put in a 40-hour week to make ends meet. The only way to
Right.
do that is to, if you're not on track to do that right now, it's okay. But you're not the only one. That was me at a point in time. But you
Absolutely.
have to get started, and you have to get started by making different decisions. And if you haven't done it yet, the first decision you should make, financially educate yourself. Please go to those 2 YouTube channels that I gave you at the beginning of this call. There's so much information on there. There's so much positivity on there. You will not be disappointed. If you're disappointed, you call me and you tell me what the problem is.
Well, thank you so much for spending the time with us, Travis. I really appreciate all of your wonderful insight and information in regards to your agency and life insurance. Is there anything else that you want to cover before we close out?
I think that about reaches it all. The main things, obviously, is the number one main thing, like I just stated, is you have to get started, right? And in order to get started, you have to understand that. Once again, 817-894-0022. My name is Travis Sapp. You can reach me at that number all the time, literally, minus the 4 hours a night that I sleep. I'll be happy to help you. The one thing that got me so excited about working with this business is that you are actually reaching out to mainly minorities, because no one else is, right? So you're helping people in the situation that I grew up in, right? So that's near and dear to my heart. So we're helping people. I'm literally teaching people that they don't have to make the same mistakes that I do, because I'm going to tell you how to avoid it, right? So reach out. Definitely get with you. When I reach out to you and you said, hey, I got this thing going on, I was like, I don't know where she came from, but this is amazing. This is a great opportunity to reach people and educate people. So anytime you want me back on this call, you let me know and we will chat it up. We can get to a situation where maybe we do, maybe we hold some kind of contest or something where we get 20 people on here and they can actually ask us questions and we can help them face to face for something like that. We'll have to work on that off screen.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely. I would be game for that. Thank you so much for your time, Travis. I appreciate it.
You're so
And
welcome.
we'll talk again soon.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.